Musicians, how are you going after placements and how are you prepping for next year? Let me know in the comments. Here are a few things that I'm doing right now to prep for next year and to go after more sync placements. First thing I try to do is break down what genre and styles of music are going to be requested the most. I try to look at trends and obviously sounds you're going to hear on TikTok and study those to see what might be coming up for next year. One thing I've been doing in my business for like the past 5 years is I get up every single morning and usually reserve about an hour or two where I'm going to study analytics and try to prep and prepare for next year or the future of my business to keep myself afloat. I'm also always on the hunt to work for other sync agents and music supervisors that might place some of the new music that I'm putting out. Recently, I had a brief put on my table and I went for it. I went and shot my shot. And really what happened was a super cool thing is that they listened to the music, they loved it. Unfortunately, it wasn't a fit for that project, but they told me they have another project they wanted to pull me in on, and they wanted me to do a full album, which was a really, really cool thing that happened. If you see an opportunity on your table, pounce on it. Shoot your shot. What's the worst they can say is no? Just move on, find someone else, right? And that's what I did in this instance. I told my wife, I remember I was looking at her, I'm like, I'm just going to shoot my shot. We'll see what they say. And it worked. A big thing I think about in these times is creating a schedule for yourself. If you were to work for someone else, you're showing up on a schedule, you're being consistent, you know exactly what you need to do. This is a great system to create for your business. In fact, I'd argue if you don't do this, you're not going to stay afloat. At the end of the day, building consistency means getting up and following a schedule and doing the same thing that works and keep repeating that process for it to grow. Another thing I like to do is I make a list of all the no's that I get and I follow up. I think this is a really powerful tool. In fact, I've gotten opportunities from this exact tool that I use. And so I write down everyone that tells me no. I might reach back to them a year or two later and say, hey, look, I've gotten better. I got this style of music. Maybe this will fit for you. Let me know. Here's another thing I'm seeing a lot of. And in fact, I just got done with a contract for a company that's going to bridge the gap to get me more brand deals. And that can consist of me just doing posts for certain companies. I recognize this as being a pretty big part to your business and can be very lucrative if you're good at it. I've been paid handsomely just to do 15-second videos from companies, and there's a lot of these companies out there. So this is another thing that I'm going to hyper focus on for my business. Obviously, I'm a music producer and an audio engineer. However, I do release music publicly with the artists that I work with. Now, I'm going to talk about that music and the stuff that I do there. However, I made the commitment where I'm going to shift this page to purely educational. And I'll be sharing music here and there, but I want to talk more about how to build a music business, how to get better at engineering, how to get better at production, how to get better at networking, so on.